I'm Ryan Roossinck, and today we're at the Kinzenbaw collection. Come on along, let's go poke around. All right, so you've built a business based on, let's call it disruptive innovation, because, I mean, that's part of the title of the book. Are there any tractor models that come to mind that you've bought for almost the opposite reason? Because you look at it and say, man, there isn't a thing on that tractor that I would change, that you bought just because of the elegance of the way that they were designed and smartly engineered.
I think probably the Farmall MTA, the 54, where you had the live hydraulics, you had the live power takeoff, high-low, all those things on it were really ahead of their time in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other models that equaled that?
Well, at that time, the 4010 and 4020 wasn't out yet.
Right.
It wasn't long until when they came out, then they basically took over in a big hurry.
Okay, so we walked through the collection and we saw lots of repowers that you've gotten back or that you've built, for yourself. Are there any out there that you haven't gotten back, like ones that you'd like to have back, specific ones that you repowered either because it had a great story or a good customer who became a close friend or anything like that?
There might have been a time when I looked for that particular model, but not anymore. I basically got a good example of everything that I've repowered and a few besides, so I don't have any real worries there. The one tractor that I always wished I would have been able to buy, there was an H Farmall and a Beacom auction that had just a few original hours on it. It was very, very original. And couple brought that tractor to the auction. I spotted it and I watched it for 2 or 3 days until it came up to be sold. And some guy out east that didn't have any idea what it was other than it was the first or the lowest hour. And that tractor, I pushed it to 39,000 and made him bid 40,000 and walked away from it. I'd have been sick if I'd have got it, but it just so irritated me that we jumped by the thousands until we got to 10,000, and then it jumped to 20,000. And it was one of those games where I chased him just to see what would happen, and I'd been sick if I'd have got it. But I still wish I would have got the tractor for what it should have been. The guy that owned it said he was considering selling it for $7,000 before he brought it to the auction, and if I'd have just got to him, that's the way those things go.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, that brings me to another question. Aside from that very original age, are there any unicorns that you would still be after, like the one that you never got bought, but now you'd really love to have it?
Not that I can think of at this point. I guess with the number of tractors that I have, I've got just about everything out there that
it's true.
Want. In fact, when people have come through here on a tour, they'll get ahead of themselves and we'll be about halfway through. Well, I haven't seen one of these. They'll ask me, and I say, well, just wait. When we get done, if you haven't seen your favorite tractor, you must have just missed it, because I've got just about everything that I thought was important in the collection.
Yeah.
Oof. There are a lot of guys that have collected low serial number and unique features, but I think there's some guys that have the first of a lot of things in the John Deere and the first of a lot of things that I don't happen to have, but I've covered a lot of those bases with unusual tractors.
Or very nice examples thereof.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the most interesting deal you've ever done or made to get a tractor into the collection?
I wish I'd taken more time to think that over. There's probably several unusual deals. I can't think of anything in particular other than I remember I was explaining to my nephew one time, we were standing out in the side of the machine shed. This has been 20 years ago, and he was just a little boy, 12, 13 years old. And I was explaining to him that when you go to an auction, a lot of times I bid on something that I don't want early on and then drop it because you don't want the auctioneer to really know what you're interested in. And so when the one you want comes along and you start bidding on it, the auctioneer never knows for sure when you're going to stop. That keeps a lot of those guys from plugging. I call it plugging it. They can pull the bids out of the air if you aren't watching them. Then you might be, between you and the auctioneer, the only two bidding on something. And so I was telling him how you gotta maybe fake interest in something that you really don't want just to keep them on guard. And the little boy turned around, he looked in the machine shed and he said, "Looks like whatever you're doing is working." Plenty of tractors.
Did you then take him to the shed where you bought all the other stuff that you didn't really want?
I don't know what I showed him at that point, but he was quite into it anyway.
That's neat. That's neat. Well, looking forward or looking to now and into the future, obviously we've talked today about a lot of innovation and things that manufacturers did a long time ago to modernize their tractors, and some of those things were very revolutionary. Well, let me ask you about now. What are you seeing coming down the line in terms of innovation now that you think might revolutionize farming practices as we know it? What is there anything there that kind of trips your trigger and you're really interested in seeing how some manufacturer might implement a certain piece of technology or something even mechanical?
There's been so many people that are really into the electronics and electrical attachments and whatever, that they've made these machines all but disastrously complicated. I know when I get in a combine in the fall, I almost have to have somebody bring me back up to speed because I just got done planting with a tractor that has guidance on it and all the extras on it, and I had to learn how to run all that stuff. Now I turn around and get in the combine, I got to start in again. Won't be long, it'll be spring, and I'll be tackling the planter again. And I've used the old saying, keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
And that's what irritates so many of these customers. When last year we were selling a few of these 8850s that I put the Cummins engines in, those tractors would typically bring 40, 50,000, especially back when I repowered them. And all of a sudden, in the last year and a half, I've seen some 8850s bring 105, 114, and I ask the guys why. It's because they're so sick of that computer garbage and getting hung up on it that they want to get away from it. And so that's the reason. But I don't think we can ever replace what that equipment will do for the setting of a combine or the setting of a tractor and all that. I went out yesterday and picked a couple of hoppers of corn, and my combine was sitting there from the settings on it last year, and I took it out and ran it, and it was right in line with the moisture test, the yield test, and all that with where it was from the year before. So they've come a long ways with that stuff, but it can be aggravating, I know.
Yeah.
Some of the first guidance systems on a tractor, guys were adding it on with a rubber wheel against the steering wheel to auto steer it.
Yep.
Now it's built right into the tractor.
Yep.
So much better. But I can remember mowing hay with a tractor where we used to mow around the field, and you could take a row crop tractor with a Charlene power steering and spin that tractor in a 90-degree turn. And it wasn't until the 40-20 came along that you could again do that, because you couldn't steer a 560 that fast at 806. None of the internationals had the ability to turn that quick and that easy.
Yep.